Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Silk Road Mountain Race, and the purpose of this video is to give you 6 keys to finish, to be successful on this beast of a race and this adventure that fascinates a lot of people. How am I qualified to give you advice on the Silk Road Mountain Race? Well, I raced it twice. 2021 and 2022. I was lucky enough to win it twice, so I knew a few things about how you can finish it and hopefully how you can finish it as fast as possible. So in no particular order is 6 keys to finish the Silk Road Mountain Race. First one, I think that you should get acquainted with remote wilderness. You shouldn't be intimidated by being alone out there in remote places where there will be no one around. It's something that some people are not comfortable with, and if you're not comfortable with this, you're going to struggle in Kyrgyzstan, because Kyrgyzstan is a country that is very unpopulated. The density of population there is really low. You're going to find yourself alone most of the time, and you're going to need to camp, sleep in places where there will be absolutely no one. Adverse weather conditions, probably going to be very cold. So I think that before heading to Kyrgyzstan, you should probably test your camping gear in real conditions. I know it's not easy, especially if you live, say, in Europe or in a big city like I do in Paris. But if you have a chance to go to the most remote places that is accessible to you, just spend the night there by yourself, making sure that you can only rely on your own self, that no one is going to be reachable, and it's something that you should embrace. One thing that is important for this is you should have dialed in camping gear, and this is why I insist that you should test your camping gear in the field. You should bring the exact kit you're thinking of bringing to Kyrgyzstan, and you should go out there maybe in the winter, because let's face it, if you're in Kyrgyzstan and you're camping at 3,000, 4,000 meters, the temperatures can go to minus 10 degrees. So maybe in the winter you go far from your home and you camp there with your mat, your sleeping bag, your tent, and you just get used to that routine of setting up camp, spending the night there, the harsher the weather, the better. And that is my first key. The second key, and it could be the most obvious, but make sure that you are physically fit to do something as hard as the Silk Road Mountain Race. It means that obviously your body weight matters. You shouldn't be too fat, but you also shouldn't be too skinny, because Kyrgyzstan, again, lots of remote places, resupply is going to be harsh. You might run out of food, you might get cold. If you show up at a race like the Silk Road Mountain Race, like, I don't know, a pro rider from the Tour de France with 7% body fat, you might just not survive out there. You might just get sick. But on the other hand, if you show up unfit, if you didn't train, if you're fat, then you're gonna struggle, because there's a lot of elevation there. I know it's just common sense, but make sure that you show up there with good training. If you've never done something like ultra racing, ultra cycling, be at home and prepare for this. Go on 12, 14, 16 hours ride, even 24 hours if you feel like it. It's just a matter of knowing what something like riding off-road, and I emphasize on off-road, because it's very different. Riding on and off-road in an ultra. Off-road is going to wear your body down much quicker, and it's going to be much harder. So make sure you know what the impact on your body is. I strongly advise that you test a good combo of saddle and bib shorts. Make sure that you find something that works for you. One of the most common reason for scratching of an ultra race is saddle sores. Make sure you know what saddle sores are. Make sure you know how to avoid them. There are obviously ways of dealing with that. making sure that your bib shorts stay clean. Some people like to use Charmin cream. I personally don't, but then it's a matter of preference. What I do is I use healing cream whenever I stop and sleep, and that helps me. The basic advice that I will give you for this is like, know the impact that ultra cycling has on your body. Good training, good bib shorts, good saddle. One of the specificity of the Silk Road Mountain Race is that it takes place at high altitude. So it is advisable that you start the race being somewhat acclimatized. I'm not telling you that you need like perfect acclimatization, because you would need then to spend 2 to 3 weeks at elevation to actually have your body be like right at the level where it's supposed to be. But if you can, definitely show up like a week early and spend some time at elevation, it's gonna help you. If you sleep at elevation, if you go to some yurt camps, for example on Lake Songko, where you're gonna be at elevation 3,000 meters, you're gonna spend maybe 1 night there, 2 nights there, it's just gonna help your body adapt a little bit. So it's something that is, in my opinion, real plus. If you have a week, it's good. If you have 10 days, it's even better. But yeah, make sure that altitude will not be a problem for you when you start racing the Silk Road Mountain Race. Third key, and it's something that is very specific to Silk Road Mountain Race, and this is food safety. As I told you, one of the first reasons for not finishing an ultra race is saddle sores. But in Kyrgyzstan, I think that the main reason why people drop off is because they actually suffer from diarrhea. A lot of people actually get sick and they end up with stomach problems. They feel depleted. They don't have the energy to keep going. Stay off the meat. Meat is the main problem when you're in Kyrgyzstan, because they don't have the same kind of safety around food that we have in the Western world. Meat is often not refrigerated, so it allows the development of bacteria and stuff like that. Obviously, yeah, if you eat bad meat, you're gonna suffer the consequences. What I suggest is that you stick to, during the race especially, you should be very careful before the race, because you can't start the race if you're sick. During the race, I advise that whenever you resupply, you get stuff like bread, cheese. You can go to some of these little shops that they have, and they will have packed sandwiches that have been prepared in a factory somewhere, and like if they're in the fridge, go for it. They're safe. I've had a ton of them, never had a problem. Just in general, even if you get invited to a meal, but the Kyrgyz is very hospitable people, so they will invite you for dinner if you accept. Be very careful. They will probably eat some meat. You can try and say sherbet sharing that you don't eat it, but yeah, food safety very important. If you're staying in Bishkek, it's safer. I never got sick in Bishkek. I think it's just a bigger city, and it has higher standards. If you're having like maybe a slower pace than the front runners, to bring a stove, cook some noodles, Chinese noodles, stuff like that, some freeze-dried meals that you bring from home. But yeah, you need to find a strategy of fueling that does not rely on what the Kyrgyz eat. There will be other foods that you will be able to find in the shops, like all the brand name candy bars, like chips, stuff like that. So there is food there. You don't have to actually go and do what I did on my first Silk Road Mountain Race, which is I went to a food stall and I bought 2 or 3 what they call samsa, which is puff pastry filled with potato and meat. Bought that and regretted it a few hours later. So again, be careful, don't do that. Food safety, very important. My fourth key, and this one applies to any ultra cycling race, and it's very simple: have realistic expectations. If you've never raced ultra, if you've never been in any sort of endurance competition, And if you don't know how your body will react to that kind of effort, don't ambition to be upfront. I'm not saying it's impossible. Some people have actually been very successful with their first ultra, but these people were very, very well prepared, and they started with a really good base of being athletes. I think that's one of the mistake that people most commonly do that leads to scratching is overdoing it. You start the race, you feel good, there's adrenaline, you push hard, you keep pushing. There's this emulation between the competitors. You see that someone is not stopping, so you keep doing, you keep riding, you're not stopping either. Race your own race. Don't, if you're in there to finish it, if you're not in there to make top 10 or top 5 or win, just like race your own race. Listen to your body. Don't push your body over the limit, because what it will do is that at some point you will get mentally and physically exhausted and you will not be able to keep going, and that's the last thing that you want, because you've traveled very far to Kyrgyzstan to actually live this adventure. So not finishing it would be, I think, in my opinion, it would really be a waste, because it's an absolutely beautiful, magnificent country, and the most of it you can see, the better it is. Know what you're capable of. I mean, obviously we'll do these races to push a little bit more than what we think we can do, and that's all fine. You should be able to find out stuff about what you're made of, but there's just a limit, you know. Again, I'm not telling you to not be ambitious. You can very well like start an ultra and be very good at it at the first go. If you're unsure of what you're doing, just like know that sleepless nights are not for everyone. Know that whenever you ride through the night, the next day you pay a price for this. And again, what I think is good is like not to experiment during the race. If you want to experiment, maybe do it during your training. Key number 5, study the course. And I will say that this might sound like common sense and that you should study the course on all the ultra races. I don't think that it's true. I think that some ultras, especially road ultras, you don't actually need to study the course because there's resupply everywhere, there's places to sleep everywhere. Silk Road mountain race is different. There will be big gaps between resupplies. Sometimes you will have more than 200 kilometers, which for front runners like me is 24 hours. Mid-pack, that's maybe 36. So you need to know where these resupply gaps are. What is neat about the Silk Road Mountain Race is that Nelson Trees, the organizer, will give you a race manual which highlights all the resupply. So make sure you read the race manual, make sure that you actually know where all the resupplies are. And it's not just the food, it's also the places where you can sleep, the hotels. I think that for a race that is as hard as the Silk Road Mountain Race, hotels are a real blessing when you can spend a night there, because you will, first of all, you will be sure to sleep in a warm place, which is not always the case when you're camping. Also, you will be able to shower, which is always good for especially for your seating area. And yeah, you will just like press that reset button, being indoors, getting maybe a proper dinner, sit down dinner, maybe a proper breakfast. There are usually on the course, there's this bigger town called Naryn, which has a really good hotel. If you get a chance to stay there, it's a really nice place where you can get good sleep, big breakfast in the morning. So yeah, just know where the hotels are and know when to stop. Sometimes, like even if it's early, but if you're in the town, if it's like, I don't know, 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. and there's still like an hour or two of daylight, sometimes you're reluctant, but it might be the best strategy because there's not a lot of accommodation en route. When you get a chance, my opinion is that you should take it. Know where the resupplies are, know where the hotels are, know the big gaps, and also something that is highlighted in the race manual that Nelson will give you is the especially hard parts, and this is also good to know where they are. Some of these hike bikes will last for hours, and it's always good to be mentally prepared for what's coming. And on top of the resupplies and hotels, you will have checkpoints. Checkpoints are very important on the Circle of the Mountain race because you can always get food and lodging there. It's a safe place where you will be able to press that reset button again and take care of yourself. Some of these checkpoints are yurt camps, so just know that when you're in a yurt camp, there will not always be a shower. Maybe there will be a place where you can do some sort of washing, but don't expect that there will be, hot water and stuff like that, or electricity. There will not be electricity in the yurt camps. I know that last year or 2 years ago, there were at least 2 checkpoints that were yurt camps. So no electricity, no hot water, but still food, beds. Key number 6, bring the right bike. If you're asking me what the right bike is, I will say that a hardtail is the bare minimum that will make the Silk Road Mountain Race pleasant for you. Some people like being underbiked, but they know what they're doing. I personally tried the Silk Road Mountain Race on a fully rigid and then on a hardtail, and had much more fun on hardtail. This being said, if you don't have the use of a hardtail for other purposes than the Silk Road Mountain Race, and if you don't have the money to buy a hardtail, it doesn't mean that you can't do the Silk Road Mountain Race. What I'm trying to tell you is, like, if you have one, bring it. If you have a full suspension, bring it. If you don't have one, and you can't borrow one, and you can't buy one, you just have a gravel bike, well, that's what it is. I personally think that you're gonna have much more fun with a more comfortable bike, but loads of people finish the Silk Road Mountain Race on a gravel bike, so it's doable. It will just be a really rough ride. Just know that it will be rough. Something that, again, might seem obvious, but tubeless tires. Whether you're running a gravel bike or a mountain bike, you're gonna need the cushion of that low pressure. If you have that low pressure, obviously, if you're running tubes, you're gonna pinch them. So don't run tubes there. There was absolutely no reason to run tubes in 2023 on an off-road race. So if you're not familiar with tubeless tires, get familiar with tubeless tires because it's the norm now. It's the new rule. I don't really see any reason to ride tubes nowadays. Bring spares. Guilty of not bringing spare spokes. I regretted it. Bring them, bring spare spokes, bring a spare derailleur hanger. What I usually do is I also bring like chain links, valve cores, even valves. But yeah, as long as something is not heavy or bulky and could be useful, just bring it. Because there will be no bike shops. I can guarantee you this, there will be absolutely no bike shops on the course. You may be lucky like I was in 2021 and find a hardware store that has spokes or spoke nipples. Yeah, that is pretty much it. You won't find like an 11 or 12 speed chain or something like that. So make sure also you know how to fix the most common mechanicals. I really do hope that you know how to fix a flat tire. I hope that you know how to true wheel. If you don't, you can learn. It's quite easy. Changing your chain, obviously, stuff like that. Changing your brake pads. I don't think that you're gonna need your brake pads. I never needed new brake pads, but I always carry them. Why? Because again, take up no space, weigh nothing. Why not bring them? So that was the 6 keys. Then there's a few things that are optional but could help you. I recommend that you learn some basic Russian vocabulary. Stuff like hotel, gostinitsa, bread, chleb, cheese, sir, stuff like that. Just water is voda. Anyway, just things that could be useful to you. Definitely if you're somewhere in the town, you don't know where the hotel is, you don't have any reception or whatever. If you ask Gostinitsa to someone, they're very friendly there, they'll bring you to the hotel. So it's not mandatory that you learn a little bit of Russian, but it will help you a little bit. As soon as you get to the airport, get a SIM card. It will be very easy, it will be very cheap, it will only take 2 minutes of your time, and you'll be very happy to have a SIM card, whether it's before or during the race. You will not have cell reception for most of the course, but yeah, again, you show up in the town or one of those small cities like Marine, you want to know where the best hotel is. You're really happy to have that SIM card on your phone, that cell reception, and just like, okay, Grand Can Tengri, Hotel Marine, very good, you get there. Jet lag is a problem for most of us because most of us come from either Europe or USA. If you have a chance to come early, it's good not only for altitude acclimatization, it is also good for jet lag. Starting the race, being used to the time zone, I think it's not going to make a huge difference, but it's definitely more comfortable. And I guess that's pretty much it. If you follow all of these advices, you will have a good chance of being successful and finishing the Silk Road Mountain Race. If you have any question about the race, if you think that I forgot some stuff, that if you have thought of something and I have not addressed it in this video, please just tell me in the comments and I will be happy to answer and reply the best I can and make sure that you know whatever you need to know to, most of all, have fun and enjoy this incredible adventure that is the Silk Road Mountain Race. Thank you for watching. You know the drill. Like, subscribe. I don't know where the button is, but do it. It's a little thing, goes a long way. Cheers, bye.